Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Cal, and today I'm going to be giving my first impressions pretty much on a game that I just ended up checking out called Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. So, don't worry about the background. Background is just pretty much the intro to the game. Won't really show much other than that. So, first of all, first initial impressions after playing it for about 2 hours. I really enjoy it. It's really quite good. Uh, I would give it a roughly rating about 7.5 to 8 out of 10 right now. The graphics, I'm playing this pretty much on very high settings with ray tracing just turned off. Just because I don't want it dropping the FPS too much and just pure blowing up my system in a sense. So yeah, graphics, great. I love the creepy dark vibe of it. You probably won't be able to hear it in this VOD, but if you go check it, I'll link the stream below where I was sitting playing it. If you go listen to that, you'll hear like there's a bunch of like voices just bouncing back and forth, like as you're constantly like on this raft ride, and throughout the whole entire game, you just get these voices in your head and that sort of stuff. It is really interesting. It definitely adds to like the creepy, dark aesthetic and that sort of stuff of the game, which I am enjoying. As I say, world amazing. I'm trying to think. I've got wee notes here. Intro looks good. Love the audio, and the voice work is great. So there is like a bunch of like female voices going off. Kind of, it's like I think it's like your internal monologue in a sense. Just not your main character, but it's just like a bunch of voices in your head, which is kind of crazy. But there's also another voice in the head, which is like a male voice, a guy by the name of Druth in game. Love this voice actor. Just like from like the interactions and hearing it for like the first 2 hours. Great voice actor. Love it. Like the accent, just the whole entire thing. It's amazing. So I won't go a little bit of spoilers, but not too much because I don't really know a whole lot. But we've got Senua, who's the main character, as you see on screen there. She's pretty much traveling to Helheim in order to try and save her beloved. I think his name is Dillion. Um, and you can kind of see it. Well, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but you'll probably see it in a little bit. But there's like a bag just down on. Oops, that did not work very well. There's a bag like down on her side of her head, on the side of her waist, and that's like the head. I think this is Druth. Druth's head. So Druth was a little bit in this time, like he's kind of like a sort of shaman, seer sort of thing, like a scholar. But he was taken captured by like the Northmen, tortured and that sort of stuff. Managed to escape. Senua came across him and kind of he's saying he will guide her into hell and find her beloved and that sort of stuff to fulfill her mission. Really quite good, quite interesting because you see a bunch of like flashbacks and he kind of pops up like he's also inside her head and that sort of stuff. Is very good. So that's a kind of like story. Overall story, I'm enjoying it. I'm curious to see where it goes. So I'll give that probably about a 7 to 8 out of 10. Combat, because there is combat in the game. I'm enjoying the combat. It is, I was going to say it's Dark Soulsy. It is kind of in a sense. You've got your dodge, you've got your parry, and then you've got your like your light and your heavy attack, and you've got like a stun. I don't know if I'll see any combat in this little bit. Might actually me a little bit until I get to combat. We'll wait and see. This is just like I'm just replaying the VOD in the background. So yeah, so the combat is fun. Most of the enemies, there's only really 3 types of enemies I've fought so far. So there is like a swordsman with a raven head. They're not too bad. Then there's a kind of more human element, a human type character that's got mace. They're also not too bad. And then the third type is like a kind of human character. Again, he's got a mace, but he's also got a shield. I dislike these guys the most. They're because the only way, like, kind of slight spoilers, but if you play it, it'll be a nice little hint for you. The ways you can beat them are you can either dodge to the side, like dodge around them and then hit them, because you can't hit them from in front because they'll just block it. So you can dodge around to the side, or you can use your stun to stun them and kind of knock them back, and then you can get a bunch of hits in. If you're fighting them by himself, it's not too bad. But the problem is, as the game progresses, it starts adding more and more enemies in the fights in general. So you'll start off maybe fighting one of these monsters or enemies, and then you might do that for like maybe the first one. So you'll fight one, he'll die, and then he'll spawn another one. So you're only fighting one at a time, and then it ups it, and then you start fighting two at a time. And then I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of like facing three at a time, and as soon as one dies, another one's kind of spawning in. So there's always like three in general. When it comes to the difficulty settings, they've got 4 options in the difficulty settings. You've got your easy, you've got normal, you've got hard, and then you've got one called auto, which I think what that does, it will gauge on the player's skill and level in game, and then obviously adjust it accordingly. So if you maybe start off, it might give you like more easier monsters to start off with, more easier combat, and then if it proves like that is too easy for you, then they'll start ramping it up and that sort of stuff. So combat, 2 thumbs up. I'm enjoying it so far. Some of the monsters are, or some of the enemies are a little bit more annoying. There is also boss fights in this game. I won't really go into too much detail about the boss names and who they are and that sort of stuff. I'll leave that for people to play and see. But I've beaten the first 2 bosses. The first one was actually not too bad. Like it was a boss that had, like the first one I fought had a big great sword pretty much. Don't mind me just messing about with the settings. I was having a look here to see why subs, like there's meant to be subtitles meant to be on, but I couldn't, but no subtitles are coming up on screen. So I don't really know, as you see here, the saying subtitles are on, or they should be on, I think, but they're not actually putting them in game. So I could actually be just a setting I've not really turned them on. Who knows? As I was saying, so the first boss I fought was wielding a big great sword, and he had fire. But I won't say much more than that. You can maybe guess if you know the Norse mythology who it might be. So the game's all based around Norse mythology and that sort of stuff. As I say, you're in Helheim. This is like hell, or you're heading to Helheim. I've not actually reached hell yet. But it was actually pretty fun. It follows the exact same way the combat, like literally you're dodging and that sort of stuff. I don't think, at least with the first boss, you can't really parry his attacks because it is like a big great sword, so he just kind of goes right through your attacks and that sort of stuff and knocks you back. So that's the only thing. But I enjoyed the first boss fight. It was very interesting. He did almost kill me a couple of times, which was, or maybe at least once. He kind of like stun locked me a little bit and I almost died. The second boss was different. He used dual blades, pretty much, like dual swords, and he was a lot more faster and that sort of stuff. That one you could parry, at least some parts of it. Like he would throw his sword and you can parry it and then knock it back to him and that sort of stuff. Really quite cool. That's one I just finished beating, like before I started recording this. I enjoyed that fight. It was good. And in the middle of it, he spawns like a bunch of enemies and that sort of stuff you need to fight as well. So that was overall great. Bosses, of the 2 I've done so far, again, I would give them probably about 7.5, 8 out of 10. They're not overly complicated. They're still quite relatively not high in mechanics. Like they're still simple, but they're enjoyable, they're fun, the environments are good, they fit thematically with kind of like who they're representing and that sort of stuff in the game. So bosses, another 2 thumbs up. Great, enjoyed it. Some other little aspects about this game that I've enjoyed or found a little bit interesting. As you can see here, This, what you're seeing right now on the screen, is pretty much all the UI you're getting, in a sense. There's no health bars, there's no sprint bars, nothing like that. It's just like blank, no maps, nothing, which is nice, clean, lets you focus on the environment and all that sort of stuff. When you do take damage, the screen on the outside will kind of flash red to let you know you're kind of damaged, and you will kind of go, like when you get hit about, so you won't, if you get hit a couple of times, you will end up going down, you'll get back up and you'll kind of stagger about a bit and that sort of stuff. But so long as you kind of run out of the way and button mash a little bit, you can get out of that state and keep going. And so the main mechanic is you can die in this game, but the way it works is in about like 5-10 minutes or something will happen to Senua, where she'll get this like sort of curse on her hand, pretty much you could call it, like this black curse on her hand. As you die, that starts to progress through like down your arm pretty much until it eventually reaches your head. And when it reaches the head, game over. You need to start again. Which I quite like. So it lets you die. So you're on a bit of a time limit. So you can't die too much. But it also doesn't penalize. It doesn't penalize you if you do kind of mess up and that sort of stuff. You die once or twice. But it's not going to give you free chances, and so you can't just run in, die a whole lot, and then still play it past the game. Give and take. I'm not sure. I've died once so far, and it was the most. It wasn't even a death to a boss or like an enemy fight or something like that. No, I fell off a bridge. So most of the platforms are fine to walk along. However, there are some smaller, thinner ones, and it's normally whenever you're like rushing to get somewhere or something like that, you will start to like wobble, and if you don't catch it in time, you'll fall off and, in my case, die. So that's like the only death I've suffered so far. It's annoying, but there's nothing I can do about it. Try to think other things. One thing I did not like, and you may end up seeing it very soon, is there is kind of puzzles. As I say, the fights are. There is some fights, but it's not a lot. It's not like you're fighting every 2 minutes, in a sense. Normally, it is kind of more exploration. You're running around the things, finding different stuff, and dealing with these puzzles. Some of the first sort of puzzles that I was running into, at least for like this kind of starting area, and then like the first boss area. So when you get to a gate, and you need to defeat two bosses to get through the gate. But the gate forks, so you can go left or you can go right. So it's up to you which path you want to take first. I took the right path. That's the way I went pretty much first. In that one, the puzzles were, you've probably seen in a few minutes, or maybe actually skip ahead just a little bit until. Skip a little bit ahead just until we see it. So this guy here, if you can see him right about here, this is Druth. So this is like the first bit, and I spent probably about 5 minutes trying to figure out how to do this puzzle. End up looking up online just quickly, how do I get past the puzzle? Found out, and I was like pure livid that I just could not figure it out. It was so annoying. But as I say, here's Druth. So what you need to do is, for these puzzles, you need to go find this ruin somewhere over here. I thought it was in the door, so I just kept lining up with the door and trying to figure it out. Wasn't right. Until eventually, as I say, I spent probably about 5 minutes on this. And then, as you see, if you go over here, the outline is sort of like there for the thing, and then that's you unlock the gate. So for the first area, a lot of the puzzle doors are like this, where you need to go and look out in the world. So you go see the door, you see the ruins, you focus in on them, and then you need to go find those ruins, like the lettered ruins and that sort of stuff in the world about. So it could be like, let's say like an R, so like that kind of R looking symbol. Like it's like trees and branches and that sort of stuff, or like timbers or fallen buildings and that sort of stuff. And you need to line it up in such a way that it makes out that ruin, and that's how you find it. It is, some of them are kind of easier to find, and some of them I just kind of run around the area looking for like 4 or 5 minutes just trying to even find these ruins. It's a bloody pain in the arse. That's my one big downside that I did not like about this. It was just some of them were kind of a bit harder to find and to line up properly and that sort of stuff. And the second area is kind of a bit similar, but you're looking through it, you go through these like kind of illusion gates in a sense, and that kind of hides stuff. So you're still lining it up, but you can actually see what you're lining up. You just need to kind of stand in the right area for it. So that one was not as anywhere near as bad as the first area. As I say, they're the only two I've come across so far. I assume as I progress a little bit further on and go into like different areas, there might be more kind of puzzles and challenge doors and that sort of stuff. So we'll wait and see what's going to happen. Anything else? I'm trying to think. Initial thoughts. As I say, I think that's about it, really. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to jump in and play a little bit more tomorrow night. On stream and that sort of stuff, and maybe try and get through it. As I say, I've played it for roughly about 2 hours so far. I think I'm playing it on Xbox Game Pass, and it seems roughly it's somewhere between 7 and 9 hours, roughly it takes to complete the game. So I'll maybe try and see if I can knock it all out tomorrow night, and if I can't, then I'll finish off the night after. And then I'll probably jump in and give the new one, because I can't remember what the name of the new one's called. I think it's called Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. So I'm actually kind of curious to see how this game ends, in a sense, to see whether or not it does end on like kind of a cliffhanger, or if it is kind of literally, it is wrapped up nicely in a package, and there is a little bit left open. So I'm kind of curious to see how it will go. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and see you later.